Hello, this is Bread Wild. It's been a while since I've made a video. I was having all kinds of frame rate issues and finally, to just today, figured out it was my second monitor. So when I unplugged it, I was returned to my pre-High Sierra frame rates. So I'm very happy, and to celebrate I went out and bought the PC12, the Pilatus from Carenado for X-Plane 11. It's an upgrade, and all the typical craftsmanship that you would expect from Carenado, and now with all the reflections that come with X-Plane 11. And it has the typical Carenado dialogues where you can operate a few things. There's also camera views, but I have set my own views. Anyway, let's lock this up. So this is Northeast Florida Regional, and we're going to fly down to St Petersburg. Could be a little bit dicey, but I wanted to run SkyMax and Real Weather Connector to see how the frame rates held up. And this is the route we're going to fly. I went in and added some waypoints and airways, and then created the nav log and use X-Plane tools to create my .fms file that will load into the Garmin shortly. Now here's the interesting part. Here's the weather. So we're going to be leaving some weather here just a little bit, but flying into something more interesting. Normally you wouldn't do this. You'd be crazy. But, you know, it's a simulator, and I want to see what the effect is in X-Plane of all this weather. So, beautiful airplane, all the fine details that you would expect in a Carenado aircraft. Look around. Wonderful details like the stitching and so on. And then of course a beautiful cockpit. So the way you get things started with the Pilatus, like every airplane, start with the battery and beacon and some nav lights. This airplane has a very short checklist to get it started. The only thing that we do is arm our EPS, our emergency beacon, and turn on the oxygen. Now it has a condition lever that we will move up once the engine temperatures begin to rise, and I'll show you that now. Here's the starter, and you can hear it. You can see the temperatures come up, and then adds fuel. And once the engine is rolling, we'll turn on our generators, and then we can turn on our radios. So really the only thing we need to do is load our flight plan in the Garmin. So let's start by deleting the old flight plan. And then we can load a new one. So that was be down in the S's. There we go. Press enter. Now we should have all of our waypoints in. One thing I do is just to make sure I select that first one and make sure that it has been activated. We can put that back. Alright, so let's just add a notch of flaps before we taxi. And head over to our runway. Pull up the map. We're going to just taxi out this direction and take off to the southeast. Now in order to taxi, you do need to move this up. Although I think that's going to get us going too fast. Now I've done some practice runs in this airplane and I've had a couple of issues on takeoff where things go awry. So we'll see how I do. Yes, that is an excuse. So we can turn on some lights. Don't need taxi lights actually. Got a notch of flaps. So we're ready to go. I take that back. One thing I forgot to do is move my condition lever all the way up. Release brakes. A lot of P factor in this airplane. And we'll rotate. Gear up. And we can begin to turn towards our heading. which will be to the southwest. Put on our GPS. And flaps up. Autopilot. Climbing at 2,000 feet, a little more than 2,000 feet per minute. So we're going to climb to 12,000 feet. We dial that in. And we'll arm our altimeter. Take a look outside. Quite a climb rate. Now there is an autopilot dialog. Maybe we can put the nose down a little bit. And let's see how we're doing on our route. So we are on the proper route, headed to Kara direct. Estimated 9 minutes. And really not much to see. Definitely IFR conditions. I'm going to take a little break and I'll join you when we get to 12,000. Alright, we're at 12,000 feet. It's not really a flight level. Flight levels, as you know, don't start till 18,000. Still on target for Kara. Pop-ups are nice, but you do have to close them. So definitely IFR conditions. I love the reflections here and shadows. Passenger view. So we can turn off our landing lights. It's kind of an unusual looking airplane. Radar pod on the right wing. Sounds are nice. I've never been in a Pilatus, but I would imagine it sounds about like that. And as we get a little bit closer, we should see a notification here or at the top of our Garmin that a turn is pending. You can see our next waypoint here, Juliet Uniform Tango Tango Sierra, and we should begin a turn now. Showing a countdown, number of seconds before we change our track to 257. Pull our map up and see used to be a way to center ourselves. Yeah, there we go. So this is 28 Juliet. Not a very exciting name. And with this new map we can put on our low altitude IFR, and you can see the route that we're following. Yeah, the map is much better in X-Plane 11. Nicely layered clouds. If you don't have SkyMax, it's really an immersive plug-in. My frame rates are hovering around 20, which is about as low as I like them to go. If I were to turn off SkyMax Pro and go with clear skies, I could probably pick up another 4 or 5 frames per second. But this is tolerable and a lot more realistic. If we were to look at the weather, let's see what. It's not giving us all the layers. It's broken at 1300, 2700 overcast at 11, and then not sure what 19 over 19 means, but this must be our deck at 11. Now if you go over to your weather, you can refresh it, but it was just refreshed 3 minutes ago. But you can see the layout of your clouds. So without my second monitor, I can't follow X airports without flipping back and forth. Of course, we can look at our flight plan and see what our progress is. So it's 120 miles to St. Petersburg, and I won't bore you with the complete flight, so join me in a few minutes. So we are about halfway to our destination. Well, maybe not halfway, but we've passed Jude's. One nice thing about having two Garmins is that you can put your route, your map, on the second one. It's kind of hard to see with these reflections, isn't it? Let me turn off the reflections for right now. Well, still some reflections. So you can see our route here. Our next waypoint is a VOR, Oscar Charlie Foxtrot. And when we get to, maybe Baypo, or maybe a little bit before, we'll put in our procedure for our ILS approach into St. Petersburg. And I did pull up X airports. So here we are. By the way, this is a free app and it's pretty nice. And it will actually take your route off of your FMS or your Garmin. Not sure how he does it, but very cool. This is the low in route. Let's take a look at the sectional. So the airport we're passing over is Kilo Oscar Charlie Foxtrot. See some traffic here. In X-Plane 11, it's usually this black smudge in the sky. I don't know if we'll be able to see it. Yep, there they are. Alright, we need to start thinking about our approach and landing. You'll notice it's starting to get a little darker. There are some lights we can turn on. A little bit better. So we're about 70 miles out. Let's go ahead and select a procedure. And we just are going to do an approach. And we're going to select, let's do an ILS approach. And then let's take a look at what our map shows. I'm going to pause for a minute here. And let's see what our maps show. So we need to pick an initial approach fix. We don't want DARBs. We want something a little bit closer in our direction. So it looks like Whipso is probably the most appropriate one. So let's select that one, and we want to be at, when we get to Kapak, we want to be at about 1,500 feet. Let's descend to 1,700 to pick up that guide slope. So, whoops. And it's now activated. And we need to check our VNav. $1,700 feet. At Whipso. And we'll descend at 2,000 feet per minute. So in 6 minutes we can begin our descent. You can see our route here. Sunlight on the winglet. That is really cool, I have to say. Very realistic. Those hits on the leather. There's some lights back here. Maybe we could turn on the reading lights for these folks. I don't know if it's going to make a difference. Yep, they're on. Nice. Why don't we dial in our altitude? So the indication is to descend to target, and this is coming up quite rapidly. So I'm going to go ahead and I've pulled up the dialog box here, and I'm going to start pushing the nose down. Come back on power a little bit. And we want 2,000 feet per minute. We can watch our rate here. Notice it's stabilized. If it were at 2,000, we'd be right on the money. Anyway, I'm not too worried. Not sure if we've got some clouds out here or not. But definitely hazy. Yep. There we go, in the soup. Notice that the Garmin put in the proper frequency 109.1. So I'll go ahead and activate that just to make sure. We're still on GPS, but I'll flip that over to V-lock in a minute. So we're still 14 miles from Whipso. And we should put our lights back on, shouldn't we? A little rocky. So nobody report me, please. So we're down to 1700. And as we turn towards Zpum, I'm going to go ahead and go to my approach. And flip this over to V-lock. Activate approach just yet, too far out. So that's telling me they want the gear down because of my speed. So we've got a little bit here, but we're going to avoid the heavy stuff, it looks like. Here's our guide slope. Alright, approach is armed. Wow. Yeah, don't try this at home, kids. Nice lighting on the passenger seats. They're probably wondering what's going on. How are we doing? Coming up on Zpum. So that is, well, pi is where we, looks like where we, I'm sorry, CPUC is where we, CPOC is where we pick up our ILS or our guide slope. So it looks like we are on the localizer, and I'm just going to be watching the guide slope as we get closer. So the floods must be coming from underneath there. Alright, so our guide slope is dropping, so we should see the nose come down in a minute. There we go. Pull back on the power and gear down. We got 3 green, and we're in the flap range. What runway is that? Is it exactly 176? So I want to aim that in about the right direction. There we go. And I can see our runway below. Speed got a little low there. With these turboprops, it's really hard to gauge it because you have to fly them right down to the ground. Turn on our taxi lights. Whoops. Is it strobe on? Yep, it was on. So we're at about 100 knots. Need the autopilot right now. Again, you fly these right down to the ground. I'm sure there's a windshield wiper here, but I'll have to find that. Pull our condition lever back. Well, I can't find the wiper switch. I even looked in the manual. So I'll cheat and go outside. Yeah, nasty day to be out. And it doesn't look like many people are around. Getting some bizarre frame rate issues. We'll just head over here and park in front of these hangars. Alright, apologize. Looks like it's stopped raining. It's lightened up a little bit. So let's power down this airplane. And it's very simple. And we can turn off our radios. Let's go ahead and open the doors. Yes, nicely lit. Alright, well that was a little dicey, but we did make it. And I am getting used to the Pilatus. Very nice airplane. Very pleased with it. Very stable. And if only my frame rates would cooperate, we'd be in much better shape. So our passengers have to make a run for it. Anyway, that's it for today. By the way, if you have flights that you would like me to take, please let me know. Anything you'd like to see. I'm not an expert, but I might be able to figure it out. So please give me some ideas in your comments for this video. Thanks.